You don't need any more mentors. You just need to start being. I got stuck in the mentor trap. I had a thing. For me, businesses were my escape. They were my way of telling whether or not I was doing well. The more money I made, the more I could say that I was being a good boy, right? I was building something that was good. I was being good. I was providing. I was creating. And part of any type of creation, whether you are building your body, whether you're building your spiritual life, things like that, you are going to find mentors. For me, when I was ultra devout Catholic, I had plenty of spiritual directors. And with business, as with everything else, I felt that the more money that I made, in order to get to the next level, I had to find a mentor that was going to get me there, because I would always put them on a pedestal. I would always find somebody, it didn't matter who, when they had something that I wanted, and I would put them on a pedestal. And I dedicated my time and my money to getting a nice big pat on the head from them. And this would happen over and over again, to the point where the last mentorship that I was a part of was around $100,000 a year. And I got a ton of value from it. However, when I started to be, rather than try to get validation from these external sources, when I started to just be, that's when things really started to shift. Because despite all the mentorship, and I would make a lot more money. I made far more money than $100,000 a year. And so these mentorships that I got, and these programs I was a part of, and these clubs that I was a part of, like Entrepreneurial Organization and so on, they brought a ton of value. But what they did not give me was the sense of being safe, the sense of being enough, the sense of being not just creative, but having a sense of purpose, power, control, command. Because no matter what I would do, I would make more money, and then there would be a friend of mine in EO, or there would be a friend of mine in one of these groups that was making twice as much, 3 times as much, 10 times as much, and they looked like they had it all together. And so then what do? Hey, can you be my mentor? Hey, can I pay you for coaching? Hey, can I pay you for this? And part of it was to get that kick in the butt, but a big part of it was just to have somebody say, you are enough, you are worthy, you are capable, you are special, you are amazing, you are successful. Because I did not believe in myself. I did not believe that I had the answers within, and that I could, through the creative power that's within all of us, it's within you, could create the life that not only that I wanted, but as Joseph Rodriguez says in his YouTube channel, a life that's full of love, harmony, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Because even the love, the harmony, the peace, the bliss, fulfillment, things like that, I saw that in other people. But for me, I believed at the time that I would not get that. It was not possible for me to get that until when, being a devout Catholic at the time, I wasn't going to get that until I died and I went to heaven. And then I'd finally get that peace, bliss, happiness, joy, fulfillment that I long for every day, and that I would self-sabotage for every day, and that I would pay these mentors to tell me and to give me what I thought they had, which was that same peace, happiness, joy, peace, fulfillment, bliss. So on the one hand, I'm desiring this thing. On the one hand, I'm like craving it, like dying for it, self-sabotaging for it, becoming hopeless on the other hand, because you're made to suffer. You're made to, suffering's a good thing. You're made to go through hard times, made to go through hard things. And I'm not knocking Catholics. I would not be where I am now if I didn't go through where God wanted me to go. So I have a deep respect for Christianity, traditional Christianity, Orthodox Christianity, Catholicism. But it wasn't until I started realizing that I could be, that the answers are inside of me, that I could just desire, I could imagine what I wanted, and this would happen without me even knowing it was possible. I remember with one of these groups, actually the group where I got this from, where I was paying close to $100,000 a year, if not over $100,000 a year for it. I remember that I was part of Wake Up Warrior, I think since 2018 or 2017. I think 2018 really. And I remember that I wanted to meet the founder, not just meet him. I wanted to be his friend. I wanted to give him, be so much of a friend that he knew my name and hugged me, and things that were not just I'm buying his service or product or whatever, that I'm actually his friend. I'm actually part of his group, his crew, his trusted people. Once again, I was putting him on a pedestal. Amazing guy, by the way. And so I would imagine, especially in my toughest times, I would imagine in first person him saying my name and giving me a hug. Well, fast forward about 4 or 5 years later, I'm making enough money to be a part of his exclusive groups. And what happens? I see him, and because I've been going to his group for however long, he says my name and he gives me a hug, and I'm part of his friend group. Did that happen because of mentorship? Yes, on one hand, but ultimately that happened because the creative power that was within me made it happen. Because I imagined the end, because I went to the end, the creative power within me. Because remember, Jesus is within you. He said that not only did Jesus say the kingdom of God is within you, it's not out there. In fact, when the apostles were questioning him, he said, do not listen to those who say, there's the Christ, there he is over there. No, the kingdom of God is within you. And St. Paul says over and over that you're the temple of the living God. Jesus is in you. Don't you realize that Jesus Christ is in you, and so on. Was it the mentorship? That was part of the bridge of incidents. However, really what the source was the internal being, me pretending when it was not even close to being possible. I was not making nearly enough money to be a part of that group. Me going into imagination, pretending and acting within my imagination what I wanted. Being a doer of the word and not just a hearer. Going and being the person that I needed to be. Being the person that could get that hug. And the person that is recognized by Garrett J. White. And a lot of people would be like, who the hell is this guy? I don't know. But go look him up. To be a part of his groups, it's very, very, very expensive. If you know like a Grant Cardone, or if you know Brad Lee, or if you know like big name like Alex Hormozy, things like that. It's very similar type of. It's a very similar type of personality. And in order to be a part of their group, and for them to know who you are, you need to pay big money, right? At the time, I did not have the money. At the time, I was still seeking so much validation, so many different things. And so when I sat there and imagined, I became that person instantly. I was that person that I needed to be in order to get the recognition and the hug and validation from one of my mentors. But was it because of the mentorship and because of all the business stuff? Yes and no. As I said, I became that person first. In my mind, I became that person first. And because I became that person first, a bridge of incidents happened where I did have mentors, brought me to that point. And now, because one of my desires was to get out of the mentor trap and to be able to be at peace with myself, and to really love, trust, admire, believe in who I was without needing to get that same pat on the head from other people. That was my desire. So what did I, once again, do? I would be that person in my imagination. I would think, what would that person be like? And a series of incidents, to include breath work, just traumatizing me, and getting, in reality, getting rid of trauma, but smacking me down, going and having things pop up by mentors, by me seeking certain mentors, doing things in my marriage and in my business that caused so much chaos and destruction that the idea of even seeing if I had some kind of diagnosis came up. Get diagnosed with NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. Then seeing, oh, these are my patterns. These are things that are causing me to self-sabotage, to not be able to emote, not be able to do these things. Fixing those patterns, and then ultimately learning to be, from that, being able to trust myself, to be calm, to be a leader, to be respected, to go from being an unsafe entrepreneur, able to make money at the expense of other people who love me, to an entrepreneur, a leader, husband who leads from being and leads from trusting myself first, which then allows me to be a safe leader, and then allows others to be safe around me, and to see that everything is in their best interest when it comes to being under my leadership. To then being able to break patterns and develop new patterns that put others who are under my care first, whether they're clients, whether they are friends, family, acquaintances. And ultimately, my businesses, my relationships are far exceeding, and ultimately my peace, love, joy, happiness, fulfillment, bliss is far more than it ever has been, and it can be for you. The more that you trust yourself, the more that you start living as though you are the operant power, the more that you start realizing that your thoughts create reality, the more that you start to trust that when you say something, and when you think something, and you imagine something from the first person, it will come to pass. And in the next video, I might share a bunch of different times where that's happened. It will come to pass. You have the power within you. Mentors are not bad, but when you rely on other people to tell you how good you are, when you rely on whether it's a lover, whether it's a mentor, whether it's whomever, to get the validation, to prove to yourself that you are loved, that you are respected, that you are desired, that you are happy, you are blissful, you are fulfilled, it'll never happen, because all of that comes from within you and flows out of you, and the outside world is a reflection of that peace, harmony, bliss, fulfillment, joy, as Joseph Rodriguez says. You are the operant power. You are the one who creates the world that you see out there reflected. You are the one that gives it meaning. You are the one that gives anything meaning. And so the more that you give yourself the time to become who you want to be, the more you will become that person. You'll become that person. I mean, the instant you believe and you imagine from the first person, the instant you do that is that you instantly become that person. Now, you'll have a bridge of incidents that will eventually show you that on the outside world, but process starts right when you start being that person. So start being rather than seeking. If you want to be loved, start by being loved. Not being loved by other people, start being and embodying love. If you want to be wealthy, start being and embody wealth. Imagine yourself, what would it be like if you were a millionaire? What do millionaires do? How do they act? Where do they go? How do they walk? How do they talk? When I wanted wealth and wanted to be making 7 figures, that's what I would do. I would imagine myself at a country club. I would imagine myself hugging Garrett J. White, which implies that I'm making enough to be a part of his inside group. The more that you're able to live from the end and be, the more you will have that reflected on your outside world, and you don't need the validation of others. Whether it's your wife, your husband, your mentor, your spiritual leader, your spiritual director, whatever it is. Start being. Stop being a hearer of the word. Start being a doer of the word, and start being who you want to be, because that's how you will become the person that's fulfilled, loved, cherished, wealthy, and adored.